get up, let me begin. This is 𝗬𝗎𝗎𝗎. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down. Get up, let me begin. This is 𝗬𝗎𝗎𝗎. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.
Shout out Young Swish.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Sit Down Morning Show with Malik Wright, presented by the Right Way Sports Network, TWSN. I'm your host, Malik Wright. Joined by my co-host always, my main man, my best friend, Daniel 𝗦𝗢𝗢𝗪. Got a lot of stuff to get into, a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or when we upload content from the TWSN studios. Listen, eventful week in sports, big news out of Nippert. If you guys didn't know, James Franklin was fired as Penn State's head coach. I don't know how I feel about it. I understand why they felt like they needed to do what they did, right? The Penn State is a program that holds themselves to the highest regard. But it was a little bit shocking to see them move on midseason in almost a $50 million buyout at that. It brings to question just how bad were things at Penn State. I don't know, Dan. I want to get your thoughts on this because it's a double-edged sword. This is a college football team that, didn't they have like 13 wins last year?
Yeah.
What happened? What fell apart, right, to make them want to make this move so drastically? He's led you to a lot of success, albeit you didn't get over the hump. You didn't bring a national championship to Penn State under James Franklin. But I would say he's probably been the most notable, esteemed coach they've had since, Joe Paterno?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction, especially in the world of college football when you're always looking for coaches that can get you to the promised land, but more importantly, keep you competitive. Because that's what we're talking about here at the end of the day. Only one team can win the national championship. And when you're dealing with teams like the Ohio State Buckeyes, when you're dealing with teams like the Michigan Wolverines or the Alabama Crimson Tide of the world, it's hard to compete. Dare I say, James Franklin, in my opinion, did a good job. He did a good job for the most part, I would say. A lot of draft picks came out of Penn State. A lot of players came from under his tutelage. And so to see them move off of him this quickly, the question is, who out there is Penn State going to replace him with? Because the rumblings I've heard, I'm not quite sure they're that big of an upgrade. Like Matt Rule, right? I have a lot of respect for Matt Rule. Recruited my brother. Everybody knows the story between him and my family. A lot of respect for Matt Rule. But it just makes me wonder. It just makes me wonder what is Penn State's plan? I mean, because you've got to go big. Right? I feel like the culture, so to speak, has been set. And I understand the vibes are really down right now. You lose 𝗪𝗓, who was talked about as a first-round pick just last year. Now they're talking about him being undraftable. I understand the vibes are down right now. But I'm struggling, Daniel, to figure out where they go next. What are your thoughts, though?
Yeah, man. I think there's an option for both sides of this. The part that I'm a little curious of, and where I will kind of go to your credit in what you were saying, and where I think that this was maybe a little bit of a predetermined move, is the fact that you were one play away from making the college football playoffs last year. And maybe that's where the problem lies, is it's just close enough, but not far enough. This is a guy who has struggled in the big games. And that is probably where I can look at and say, hey, I'm coming to terms with this if I'm the organization of Penn State, saying, hey, this dude is 4-21 against top 10 teams in his Penn State career. And if that's the number that they circle, and if that's the number that they say, hey, he can't win the big games, this is solely on him, that's fine. But where like you said, where I struggle is, where do you go from here? Is this a complete revamp of your culture? Because like you said, they've had great players there. They've gotten guys drafted. They have extremely talented guys on their team right now. Maybe this was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And for them, maybe they look at their quarterback and say, hey, the fact that he went down, let's just call this entire season a wraps. And that's it. And for me, I just think it was a little too early for me. Like, 𝗓𝗓 just went down. You are 3-3, I believe, on the season. Give this dude a shot, especially since you're giving up $50 million, 49, 48, whatever it was, just for a guy to go sit over there and you can have somebody who's on your current staff take over his role. It shows that you weren't clearly confident in him, but I think that this was too early, in my opinion. I think that the fact that 𝗓𝗓 went down, you're kind of looking to change up your entire organization now and head into next offseason with a clean slate. But I do think that this is not going to be a good look for them for the rest of the season. I think they are going to look poor. I think they are going to really turn their season on its head. And like you said, where did they go from now? It's got to be a big name, because if you don't go after a big name, what are you doing, right? You're going to have to go in and get a new recruit at the quarterback position, and you still got some talented guys, but this draft class for Penn State upcoming, I mean, it's pretty decent. Dana Sutton, you've obviously got, your two running backs there. I'm just kind of curious on where they go from here, but I think that this was a little bit too early. And when you look at that dollar amount that they're paying for James Franklin to go sit somewhere that's not the head coach, I think they low-key messed up a little bit too early. Because, like I said, you were one play away from the college football championship, from being in the playoff championship last year. I look at a guy like Ryan Day for a perfect example. That is a guy that was ridiculed. That was a guy that was having similar seasons to what Penn State had last year. Penn State was, 11-2 heading into the playoffs? And they were getting ridiculed, sure, but they were in the mix. They were in the game, and that was the same conversation we were having about Ryan Day. The Ryan Day that we talk about Ohio State right now would not be the same one if they did not win the championship last year. I think there's a very big chance that if Ryan Day did not win the championship last year, he is on the hot seat this season, because that championship, quite frankly, saved his role. Like, I don't think they would have fired him, but let's not forget what happened. They lost.
No, they might have. They might have.
Yeah, like
they might. But I feel like the expectations at Ohio State are a little bit different, right? You know, Ryan Day had it made, if we're being honest with ourselves. And I think he's now starting to build on his own legacy, right? To where he's kind of away from the Urban Meyer thing. But if you ask me, Ryan Day was expected to do some really, really great things because of the rosters that he had. You think about all the draft picks that have come out of Ohio State, right? The quarterbacks, albeit some aren't even working out in the National Football League right now, but the wide receiver talent. I mean, they've called this place wide receiver U, the defensive end talent. They've had a boatload of players coming out of Ohio State. So I think the situations were a little bit different. We can look at Penn State. We can say, hey, we could point to this player or that player that they have had come out of the university, right? It's just a little bit different. That's a little bit different. The expectations were just a little bit different from Ohio State to Penn State. I think when James Franklin, it almost reminds me of what Marvin Lewis was tasked to do, right? We obviously know the scandal at Penn State. Penn State was almost forgotten about to a degree. James Franklin was the first coach that brought them back to relevance, if we're being quite honest with ourselves. So it almost feels like he's the coach that brought respect back to the program. He's the coach that made them relevant, but maybe he's not the coach that was able to take them over the hump. And maybe at this next stage, maybe this next phase, they're hoping that they can get a coach in here that can get them to truly compete for championships. And honestly, if that's the thought process, I can understand that. Yeah. I still think, hear me out, I still think firing a coach mid-season is disrespectful for him being the coach that brought you out of purgatory. I think that was still disrespectful. I think that could have waited. Does everybody think that's fair? I think that's fair. I think they could have waited to fire him until after the season. You know, so that's why, I don't know, the messages afterwards, like, thank you, Coach Franklin, all this stuff, like, it kind of falls on deaf ears, because if there was truly respect there and an understanding, why wouldn't you just fire him or wait till the final week of the season? Let him coach this thing out. But maybe that's the college football culture. I have no idea. Maybe that's just how it is. Maybe they just rather rip the Band-Aid off. But I just think for a coach that brought you out of everything that you went through, it might have made sense to hold on to him just a little bit longer. I think that would have been the ultimate sign of respect. Yeah. If you guys could do us a favor, let us know down in the comment section what you think. Very curious. If you like more videos like this, again, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live or upload content. I'm looking at Bill Sparks in the comment. He said it had to be done. James Franklin was 4-21 against top 10 teams. Not to mention Adidas deal forces their hand a bit with them investing heavily in the PSU. They can't be stagnant. Matt Rule is the leader in the clubhouse. The Penn State AD was with Rule during his time at Temple. And option, yes, he was. Yes, he was. He was my brother's athletic director as well. Yes, he was. And so we'll see. We'll see what sort of happens there. It feels like Matt Rule's a shoe in there. Hey, we'll go from one, right? Right, because isn't Matt Rule coaching at Nebraska? Right, he's coaching at Nebraska, right? We'll go from one Nebraska Cornhusker, right, to potentially another. I have a theory, really quickly, Daniel, and it's going to tie right into our Bengals conversation. If Matt Rule gets hired as Penn State's head coach, hear me out. Hear me out, just for one quick second before you call me crazy. Now, I think you might know where I'm going with this. What if Nebraska, who's going to have an opening for the head coaching job, they were interested in him before, what if they asked the Bengals for permission to talk to Zac Taylor, their former quarterback? Hear me out. Do you think that any way in the world that makes sense? Because I know we're not talking about Nebraska right now necessarily, but goddamn it, we are. Zac Taylor to Nebraska as the next Cornhuskers head coach? If things don't work out this year with Cincinnati? It's the perfect parting of ways versus saying, hey, the guy's fired. I'm just reading the tea leaves. They were interested in him before. Things are not going well here in Cincinnati right now. Who's to say that isn't realistic? I remember when Harbaugh took the job to become Michigan's head coach. And it would seem like that was just this plan he could not make up. It was a chance to coach his alma mater and all this stuff like that. My mind is just turning right now. I can get on board with the Zac Taylor to Nebraska train. I can get on board with that. It might have seemed crazy during the Super Bowl run, but ask yourself, is it as crazy right now with how the Bengals season has shaped up? Thursday night, right? Big game, Bengals season on the line. But I want to get your thoughts on that real quickly before we continue, because I want to talk about the Bengals game against. I want to talk about Bengals game against the Packers as well.
Yeah, I like it. Like, that all hinges clearly on the Bengals firing Zac Taylor. That's it.
It doesn't have to be a firing. It doesn't have to be a firing.
Yeah.
Hear me out. Hear me out for a second. You don't have to fire that guy to make that happen.
Yeah.
People get approached all the time. But if you know you're at an impasse, so to speak, right? And you have your head coach who things are not working out with. We're not sure if he's in a lame duck year or if he has one more year left on his contract. Well, if he accepts another deal, do you still owe him that money? If you allow him to go interview for another job, right? Do you still owe him that last year? Because people always talk about how the Bengals don't want to pay coaches that they fire, but they've done that before. They have. Tara Austin was one of them. There were a few. They don't just fire the people and then, So that's the question, right?
Yeah.
If they decide to move off of a Zac Taylor, I think that is the most corporate way to go about it. Things have been working. We mutually agreed to part ways, but you don't even have to say that. Hey, can we interview Zac Taylor for the head coaching job in Nebraska? Yes, you can. He gets interviewed for the job. All of a sudden, they hire him. Now the program's excited. A guy that took the Bengals to the Super Bowl, all this stuff like that, esteemed, accomplished coach, and you move forward in your own direction. I don't know. I think the tea leaves are aligning that way. Matt Rule takes the Penn State job. Zac Taylor gets real interest from Nebraska. Because who else is going to come to Nebraska right now?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
No, yeah, I like it. I like it. And like I said, I think that this is something where at the end of the day, Zac Taylor is not going to get another head coaching gig this upcoming cycle. Let's
stay with this.
Yeah.
He's not getting another head coaching gig in the NFL.
Yeah.
Not this cycle.
Yeah.
He's not getting another head coaching gig in the NFL unless he goes somewhere, has a ridiculous amount of success for 5, 6, 7 years, and then a team comes calling. He's not getting another coaching gig.
Yeah.
In the NFL.
No. And quite frankly, he shouldn't. Like, if it doesn't work out here, he shouldn't be a head coach in the NFL. And that's where I'm curious to see how this plays out. I think that it's a good shout, and I think that would be the logical next step, right? If you part ways with Cincinnati Bengals, if it doesn't work here, like, you've got to find a job somewhere. And Nebraska, I would see it very smartly that they would be interested in Zach Taylor. So I like it. I like it. It's a good shout. And
we'll see what happens. Listen, I want to keep the conversation rolling. While we got you guys here, give this video a like, subscribe, channel, turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss when we go live. Listen, Bengals lost yesterday to the Green Bay Packers. There were a lot of takeaways from the game, but Dan, I want to get to your biggest takeaways of that game.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and we kind of go, throughout the game. And if you guys are watching this and you don't know how to necessarily feel about this game, that's okay, because there's a lot of different components. The Bengals are 2-4. They lost their last 4 games. And we watched this game, and for me, I was like, I found myself with a little bit of hope watching this game, right? It's a different quarterback, and you watch kind of how they end up finishing the game. It's like, holy crap, this team might have a chance to beat the Packers. All right, what if they beat the Packers? What goes on here? What? They end up losing the game. But for me, just looking at this game, the game plan right away, I understand what they were trying to do, ease Joe Flacco in. But it cannot be understated how piss poor the offense was in the first half. It can't be. Your first 3 plays were, an end around to Ja'Marr Chase where he was running horizontal, and then you run it right up the gut to 𝗦𝗡, right? You were punting on the first drive. Basically, that's what you did. Get your quarterback some reps. Okay, I understand that. But the offense looked abysmal, and it finally found some life in the second half. And my biggest bright spot, and the thing that gives me somewhat confidence heading into the stretch of the Steelers, of the Bears, of the New York Jets, is how the best guys were targeted. Ja'Marr Chase, 12 targets. T. Higgins, 8 targets. And there was only 2, I would say, that were pretty much terrible balls, right? The one to the left, to Ja'Marr Chase, where Carrington Valentine was hitting the gritty. That was just a bad ball. And down the right sideline, T. Higgins, I felt like Flacco could have gave him a chance to make the grab. But your best players got chances in this game. And I think that's what gives me confidence heading into this week against the Steelers is, hey, these guys, T. Higgins was making plays. And the reason why he was making plays is he was able to get his hands on the ball. Same thing with Ja'Marr Chase, able to get his hands on the ball. Look at what happens when you just throw the ball to Ja'Marr Chase. That dude is a superstar. You just got to give him opportunities. And that was by far and away my biggest, positive with Joe Flacco was, hey, once they started getting it rolling, it wasn't like he was just going check down, check down, check down, check down. He was giving your guys a chance. And that's what I didn't see consistently from Jake Browning is, hey, give your best players a chance to catch the damn football. And that's what I saw with Joe Flacco kind of towards the end of the game. I mean, Ja'Marr Chase, 10 receptions, 94 yards. T. Higgins, 5 receptions, 64 yards. Like, these dudes balled out. And it's because you gave them a chance near the end of the game. When I look at the rest of the team, I mean, Andre Iosivas, I think it really hurt how Mike Gesicki got hurt because it kind of it shortened what you could do because Yoshi was out there a lot of times. And I mean, he had 4 targets, 3 drops, 1 reception. That can't happen. He can't be non-reliable. You can't have that. Same thing with, your other guys, Drew Samples, whatever. But Noah Fant should be out there more. You've got the weapons on this team. Yoshi should not be seeing 90, 80% of these snaps. He just should not be because it's clear he is not a star wide receiver. It's clear at this point he's not even fully consistently reliable in the short passing game. So that was something that kind of concerned me because that third down was huge. Drop the pass. And I understand different quarterback, different speed of throwing the ball, but you've got to catch those balls. So that definitely wasn't, something that can be sustainable. But looking at the defense side of the ball too, it's weird. They play these games where it's like you play well in the first half and you give up 17 points in the fourth quarter. The one thing I think was important, the Logan Wilson benching was obviously big news. I think if you're going to bench Logan Wilson, you got to get better performance out of your linebackers. And for me, when I watch this game, I think that Barrett Carter, I think he's got a future with the Bengals. I think Demetrius Knight has a future. They played piss poor yesterday. And Barrett Carter was a guy that I'm extremely excited about. And I think his athleticism gives you something to be excited about. But this was about as poor of a performance as you can have from the linebacking position. It was kind of concerning to me because Logan Wilson didn't play any snaps in the second half. And the inexperience showed from your linebackers, right? The third down, the play that kind of broke the game, in my opinion, was that rollout to the right. You have everything covered. Barrett Carter has got Jordan Love, takes a poor angle, and Jordan Love gets the first down. And that's inexperience. But I'm not saying that it's going to be the rest of his career, but that was a huge reason, in my opinion, why the defense didn't perform. Was it's just the inexperience. Once Trey Hendrickson goes down, it kind of shows this team, they don't have superstars on defense. You're relying on simulated pressure, which I liked. They made Jordan Love look uncomfortable at times. And this was an offense with the Packers that they were not humming until the end of the game. So I don't blame this fully on the defense. I think this football team as a whole has not put 4 quarters together. And I think that's what's really killing them, because you were in this game, quote unquote, but it was too little too late for your offense. And the same thing for the defense. So I think that this team has some resemblance of a team that can succeed this season, but they just have to put it all together. And like I said, I'm confident that Flacco is a much better upgrade over Jake Browning, and I'm somewhat confident heading into this next 3 games that, hey, they can put winning football together. But yeah.
Well, to your point, listen, they should be able to win a few of these next few games, right? I mean, they're sitting at 2-4 right now. You got the Steelers. A lot of it's going to depend on, obviously, the health of Shamar Stewart, which I would expect to be back against the Steelers, or Trey Hendrickson. Just how serious is that injury? Obviously, all these things are contributing factors, because without Trey Hendrickson in there or Shamar Stewart, you don't have a pass rush. All of it is manufactured. Maybe, just maybe, you get both of those guys back. You get those guys healthy. They're able to do something. Listen, if the Bengals beat the Steelers, it looks a little bit different. You'll be sitting at 3-4. Then you have the Jets and you have the Bears all come in town. The Bears game should make people uncomfortable. The Jets game is a winnable game, but again, they're always can have the opportunity to play spoiler. The Jets are going to win a game at some point. Who is that game going to be against? Is it going to be against the Bengals? Who is it going to be against? That's going to be the question at the end of the day. The way I look at it, though, man, I say to myself, Joe Flacco showed that he can keep the offense competitive. He showed, right, that at the very least, they can move the ball down the field. They could push the ball down the field. And he's starting to build real chemistry with guys like Jamar Chase. T. Higgins had, 5 catches yesterday or something like that long. So, again, these things are starting to churn a little bit. And that's what the Bengals offense needed. You cannot win games in the National Football League where you go scoreless in the first half and you can't be a functioning football team saying that, you know what, I thought we were still going to win. There's no way you thought you were going to win the football game, because guess what? The metrics do not speak to your favor. You're asking your defense, who played lights out in the first half for the most part, all things considered, to really do a task that is just not favorable to any defense. You're putting them in an unfavorable position. You're asking them to create stops time and time again, when that is not the type of defense, the style of defense that this Bengals team has right now. This style of defense that the Bengals team had, are very reminiscent of that year that they went to the Super Bowl. It's very bend, don't break. It's turnover oriented. DJ Turner had a great game yesterday. Dax Hill had another phenomenal game. Listen, I think those two are the guys that from the defensive back room that you build around. I think those are your 2 answers on the defensive back side of the ball. I think guys like Cam Taylor-Britt, it is what it is. They are who they are at this point. I thought the benching of Logan Wilson was very interesting, was very premature. I understand you got to let the linebackers play, you let the young guys play. It was a rough outing for guys like Barrett Carter, guys like Demetrius Knight. They did not grade the best. But again, the best teacher is experience through time. Here's my thought process. If you're going that direction, because I feel like once you go that direction, you can't go back, right? Because then you hit on the confidence of the guys. What happens with Trey Hendrickson? What happens with Logan Wilson? And again, this could be a conversation that we have more towards State of the Jungle. do you look to start moving off of some of these assets at this point, or are you guys just going to let these guys rot on the bench? If you're going full youth movement, are you going to start moving off of some of these guys who are no longer factors for you? Guys like a Logan Wilson, guys like a 𝗕𝗘𝗪. I'm sure Logan Wilson doesn't want to necessarily just play a role on a team. He wants to have an impactful role on a team. And I could think of a team right now that could use linebacker help, a team in San Francisco by the name of the 49ers, who just lost Fred Warner for the season to a broken ankle. Why wouldn't they come calling for a Logan Wilson? Again, a lot is going to depend on how things look after this Steelers game. Will you be 2-5 or will you be 3-4? That is going to be the conversation. 2-5, 3-4. It looks similar, but it's not. One gives you so much confidence, the other doesn't. You're coming off of 4 straight losses. This one, if you lose to the Steelers, will be a 5th one. At what point do you start to seriously have conversations? And again, this isn't even in the thought process of you tanking the season, because by you moving Logan Wilson down on the depth chart, is you basically saying we're heading in this direction already. So again, how I've always wanted the Bengals to operate is, are you going to operate like an actual franchise? The guys that are no longer used to you, guys like 𝗕𝗘𝗪, guys Logan Wilson, are you going to call to see if you can trade some of these guys? Listen, I already gave the fit, right? Logan Wilson to the San Francisco 49ers. Why not 𝗕𝗘𝗪 to the Philadelphia Eagles? They need cornerback help. And I'm not saying these guys are going to be fixable, but that could be said for every player that is traded at the deadline. There's a reason why a team might be moving off of a player. There's a reason why the team might be wanting to head in a different direction. Things are clearly not working out for said player. What are you doing with Jermaine Burton at this point? I don't even know if you can get anything for him. But one thing I could tell you, though, and this might be a hot take, and people might not like this because I know everybody likes Yoshi here in Cincinnati. He's not a wide receiver 3 here in Cincinnati. He's proven that. He's had every opportunity to take that role. The week before last was his best game. He has not done that. He had 3 drops yesterday. He struggled in some really, really big moments. Why not give Jermaine Burton an opportunity to see if he could slide in that role? If we're strictly in evaluation mode, if you're trying to put the best football team out there possible, and you talk about how Jermaine Burton, besides coming late to a meeting or something like that, if he's done everything that you've asked him to do, right, as a pro this year, and he ain't going about his business the correct way, why not give him that opportunity? Why not give Mitchell Tinsley more of those opportunities? These are real questions that we should be asking. And I get it. You know, Joe likes Yoshi, Zach likes Yoshi, and all this stuff like that. But the true essence of your job, even though you might do the dirty work, the true essence of your job is still for you to go out there and catch the football. And if you're not doing that, well, you're a liability out there. That's just my thoughts. I'm about putting out the best roster possible that the Bengals can. That's just my thoughts when it comes to all this. That all being said, I think that the Bengals have 3 winnable games on their hand. Aaron Rodgers is going to be tough to beat. He's got that Pittsburgh Steelers offense humming right now. He's got them believing. And again, they're going to get stops. The Bengals defense is going to get stops, but can the Bengals offense answer those stops? You had the crowd on your side, right? You're dealing with another aggressive defensive front. They're going to be coming after you. I think what Joe Flacco showed is that he can win in this offense. I'm sorry, he can have success in this offense. I think that his arm talent gets him out of a lot of stressful situations. So where he doesn't make up, where he doesn't have it in the from a speed standpoint or a mobile standpoint, his arm talent makes up for a lot of it. I saw him complete a throw yesterday that not a lot of quarterbacks can really complete because they don't really have the velocity on their throws that a Joe Flacco does. And again, we were sitting back watching the Lions game. I think it's fair to say Jared Goff and Joe Flacco are very similar quarterbacks. So this idea that they can't have success in the National Football League being statues in the pocket is just not true. I do think that an effort level is going to be needed for the Bengals offense to take this thing to the next level. Like, if we're losing Mike Gesicki for an uncertain amount of time, right? It's a left pec injury. We need guys like Noah Fant to step out. It seems like Tanner Hudson has found his way and clawed his way back into relevance on this offense somehow. But again, like this is what we're looking at right now, man. This is what we're looking at right now. You're looking at life with Joe Flacco and the Bengals. How can they keep this thing afloat with Zach Taylor as a play caller? And how they keep this thing afloat is, again, not by scoring 0 points in the first half, expecting a rally at some point, especially when you lose Trey Hendrickson for the remainder of the game. And again, fingers crossed, we don't know what the expectation is with Trey Hendrickson in terms of health-wise, seeing as he didn't return to the game. Will he even be available? Right? It was a back injury. Will he even be available Thursday night to play against the Steelers? That's a quick turnaround time. It's a quick turnaround time for guys that exited the game healthy. But guys that left the game, that's, again, this could be a big opportunity for guys like Shamar Stewart if they do play, and guys like Joseph Osai, who I thought had some nice reps yesterday. What else are your thoughts, though, Daniel?
Yeah, man. I mean, just sticking with the defensive line as well. Like, and the question from Jesse Dominique said something about like Al Golden being trash. I don't think it's fair to say he's trash right now. I think that something else that it's very clear is they are lacking, especially when Trey's out. They're lacking that star athleticism, that somebody that can just make their way to the pocket. And like I said, Osai flashed, and for sure, I think there's just a different level, and that's what you are going to feel that on your defense. If you don't have Trey Hendrickson, you are going to feel that, as well as Shamar Stewart. I feel like that's something that's kind of being underplayed, with the Bengals right now. Of, hey, if you have both of them out there, I think that this defense on the pass rush could look a lot different. That's probably one of the biggest concerns. So when I look at how they're going to play for Pittsburgh, I think it is going to have to be the simulated pressure. You look at one of the plays in the fourth quarter that I thought they did a phenomenal job. It was the third down, and you bring Geno Stone on the blitz. He forces an errant pass. That's what you hope to do, and that's what I think you have to do a lot more of. Send these corner blitzes, send Geno Stone on the blitz, because you are going to have to simulate pressure. You're not a team right now, especially if there's no Trey Hendrickson. Osai is not dominating the defensive line as your edge rusher number one. He's just not going to do that. So I think that when I look at this team, especially on the defense side of the ball, I think Osai was somebody that definitely played the best on the defensive line. But the rest of it, I think that they just it took a long time for them to kind of break down and show near the end of the game, especially that Josh Jacobs touchdown run. It was wide open. Both defensive tackles split. Both linebackers took the outside. Both safeties didn't crash. And it was like, what are we doing here? But that's what happens when you keep getting repeatedly punched over and over and over again, and your offense scores 0 points. So I think when you look at this offense, and I hate to sound like I'm giving hope for a team that is 2-4 and lost their past 4 games, but man, like you said, this was a quarterback. He came in on 4 days. 4 days. And I can understand why the offense looked like this in the first half. But to build that chemistry with Jamar and to build that trust with T. Higgins in the span of 4 days, to put that product out there in the second half of the game, I was happy with it. I think that gives you some hope to where your offense can go. But my biggest concern, it's going to be the play calling as well. You have to put your quarterback in a position to succeed. And I don't think that they did in the first half. And I think they limited it probably for Flacco because the fact that he only had a couple days. But you are going to have to air it out at Pitt or against the Pittsburgh Steelers this Thursday night. And I think that there's a chance for success. I like the quick game. I think the quick game works. I think giving Flacco multiple reads, but you've got to give him the opportunity to put the ball in his wide receivers' hands, not just on curl routes. You got to give him the deep stuff too. So I was happy with the way the offense looked in the second half. I was disappointed that they didn't end up winning the game, but that's what happens when you put 0 points on the board in the first half. So I was happy with the fight that the offense showed as well. This was a game where 2 games ago, I was expecting them to get blown out against the Lions, get blown out against the Packers, and it to be wraps. Your offense showed fight. Jamar Chase showed fight. And something, I know it sounds silly, but Jamar Chase smiling after plays, that is a great thing for your football team. That is a great thing for the morale of your team. Getting the ball in your best player's hands is a great thing. You look at, I hate to bring this up, but the New York Giants, right, with Malik Neighbors, obviously is superstar talent. But you can tell with their team, there was a lot of, upset players. There was a lot of negativity, and it seems like they've got an infusion with Jackson Dart. There's a positivity, and look at how the Giants are performing. I think seeing the way the Bengals fought in this game, especially on offense in the second half, that has to give you hope heading into these next couple games.
I think basic is good, and I think for an offense that was struggling just to do the mundane task, the simple task, Joe Flacco brings a certain level of calmness, and you could tell he's played a lot of football, right? There's a certain level of confidence that the entire team had about them with Joe Flacco and their quarterback. I mean, it felt like they had to rally Jake, whereas it feels like they know Joe Flacco is just going to do his job. And it's crazy to think that of a 40-year-old quarterback, we're talking about him being the guy that keeps the Bengals season afloat, but these games are winnable with Joe Flacco. And a hotbed conversation coming out of that was the offensive line didn't necessarily look the worst, I would say. And I think a lot of that has to do from confidence. And I think that when you have a guy at the helm with the quarterback position who can steady the ship, who can keep everybody, together, if you will, and it's not a lot of frantic out there. And, I think that there is a certain level of stability that goes on. And I think you saw that with Joe Flacco in there at quarterback as opposed to a Jake Browning. If you're asking me for the silver lining, I think that's the biggest takeaway from the offensive side of the thing. The defense, the dam was holding on, and then it broke. Obviously, when you lose a guy like Trey Hendrickson, it looks different. And I think that the front office is seeing firsthand what life could be like without a Trey Hendrickson out there. I was shocked that we didn't see as much Chris Jenkins. I got to look at the snap count number. I didn't get a chance to look at that. We didn't see a lot of Chris Jenkins out there. We saw a lot of TJ Slaton, probably the most we've seen TJ Slaton play. And I've got to think it's because that was his former team. But I thought that they did some nice things. Jordan Battle had a rough outing. But again, some stuff to build on. Let's talk about the Steelers game coming up, though. Let's talk about that. So the Bengals take on the Steelers, obviously, Thursday night. And we're going to be touching on this on State of the Jungle on Wednesday. But we're also going to be touching on it on Thursday's morning show as well. But I just want to give my first few thoughts. This is a tough game because your backs are against the wall. And people could say, well, you know what? It's only 5 losses. You still have everything in front of you and all that stuff like that if you were to lose to the Steelers. But morale-wise, that does something to your team. You have got to ask yourself, are we playing to be very competitive? Or are we playing because we have a real shot at playoffs? And I think these are the conversations that are going to start to unfold. I was encouraged by the fight that they showed. Still not encouraged with Zac Taylor as the head coach. Still not encouraged with Zac Taylor as the play caller of the Cincinnati Bengals. But working with what we've got, dare I say, I think that the morale, I think that the thought process behind this team, everything sort of shifts if they beat Pittsburgh Thursday night in Cincinnati at the whiteout game. I really think it could. It could be one of those culture shifts that happen. And to be honest with you, they need it. They need it as bad as they need to breathe. They need to find a way to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday night, because if you don't, well, I think you could see a lot of dysfunction. I think you could really start to see this thing fall apart. And I think you could see the organization have to answer some really, really tough questions of what this thing might look like the rest of the stretch. Because sitting at 2-5, man, you have to almost run the table to really have a chance at this thing. And do you actually want to bring Joe Burrow back potentially in a setting where he might be more susceptible to more hits and stuff like that? I have no idea. But, I thought the last thing I'll say before I give this to you, because I want to hear your thoughts on Thursday night game. Last thing I'll say about Joe Flacco's performance is I think that Joe Flacco showed you, even being a statue at the quarterback position, you can still maneuver the pocket. You still can live to fight another day. I think that is something that Joe Burrow could learn from watching a veteran like that, right? Because Joe Burrow really hasn't necessarily had a true good veteran quarterback or guy who's done it at a high level in the quarterback room with him. But learning when to throw it away, when to fight fight another day is so important because guess what? Every play is not going to be a big play. Every single time is not going to be a big play down the football field. You got to be able to throw it into the dirt, realize that stuff could be friendly towards you. Just my thoughts. I know that had nothing to do with what we were talking about, but it was something that I was looking at when I was watching the game. I was like, Joe Flacco really knows when to take what the defense gives him and when to just throw it in the dirt. And I think that's what has allowed him at 40 years old and not being a mobile quarterback to have such a long-lasting NFL career. Daniel, what are your thoughts on the Thursday night game against the Steelers?
Yeah, and it's a great point. I mean, you're watching this game, and it's clear this dude is a statue, but it works. Like, he knows, hey, especially on the quick screen, if it's clogged up, I'm going to throw that ball in the dirt. If the ball is not here, especially early in the game, I was like, what? He threw that ball low to Drew Sample. What are we doing? It's like, hey, if it's not there, it ain't going to work. Let's live to fight another down. And I think that's something, like you said, a veteran quarterback, that's positive that he brings you. This Steelers game is going to be tough. It is going to be a very difficult game. And the reason why is they play AFC North football. They are a smash mouth football team, but they also aren't a fantastic offense. They are a well-oiled machine. They are a straight line type of team where, hey, we are going to run the ball with Kenneth Gainwell. We are going to run the ball with Jaylen Warren. We are going to win at the line of scrimmage. We are going to run the play action bootleg to Darnell Washington. We are going to get our guys in space. But they are somewhat limited, especially if you force them to play from behind. They've got DK Metcalf. They've got Jaylen Warren on the quick screens. That's it. That's pretty much it. They are a very simplified offense, and they haven't had to show it. I mean, you look at the past couple of games that they've played. The Cleveland Browns game, that was against the Browns are terrible right now. That was against a terrible team. I wasn't impressed with what I saw with their offense. They got the win. They did what they had to do. They played the Vikings in London as well. That was a game, once again, it was what? It was whatever. Like, they played a team with Carson Wentz. They flustered him, but their offense was fine. That's what it was. It was just a straight-nosed football team. We're running the ball. Kenneth Gainwell at 100 rushing yards. That's it. So I'm confident that this can be a close game. And like you said, you have to win this game. At 2-5, at that point, I know we had this conversation when Joe Burrow, was injured. I would probably pack it in at 2-5. Say, hey, what's our next steps? Developmental, trade pieces. That's the conversation. But if you can win this game, it turns your season around. It gives you a spark because then you can start going on a mini run before the bye. And who knows? You end up 5-4 before the bye. Your season is still all in front of you. But in order to win this game, you're going to have to force Aaron Rodgers into some difficult situations. And that comes from a pass rush. And that's where I look at Al Golden and I say, hey, especially if there is no Trey Hendrickson, Al Golden is going to have to be on his P's and Q's because I can see a world where this Pittsburgh Steelers team just stink and dunks their way, straight-nosed football, running the ball, 150 rushing yards, and they can win a 3 to 6 point game. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers. You have to force Aaron Rodgers into bad situations, and I think that they could potentially do that. But it is a tall task, and I'm very confident that you've got to get this running game going as well as the quick pass game because this Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line is no joke. TJ Watt is no joke. Like, Cameron Hayward is no joke. These guys are phenomenal. And they've got some good boundary corners too with Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slade, Joey Porter. This is going to be a matchup. I mean, in your interview with Jamar Chase, he said, hey, those guys in Pittsburgh, Jalen Ramsey, those guys can play. And this is what you live for. Thursday night football, primetime matchup. I think that we could see a Joe Flacco very good performance. But I do think that this is going to come down to the defense of, hey, you've got to be able to get stops. And I think it's going to come down to red zone defense as well. Because if you can force field goals, if you can hold this Pittsburgh Steelers team to 21 to 24 points, I think you give yourself a very good chance to be in this game and win this game on Thursday night against the Steelers. So, yeah, man, I think it's going to be a very interesting next couple days to see, hey, is Trey Hendrickson healthy? Is Logan Wilson for sure bench? Because Barrett Carter, this is a big step up for him. He wore the green dot yesterday. Is he going to wear it again? Is he their main guy at linebacker? And I'm excited for this game, Malik. I'm not gonna lie, because this does feel like this is a very pivotal game, and it seems like I say that about every single game, but I feel like this one really has the ability to flip the season in a positive way, or give this season of, hey, this might be a lost season at this point at 2-5. So,
yeah, I agree with you. If you guys feel this video, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or upload content. Hey, I want to keep the conversation rolling. Baker Mayfield, MVP candidate. Daniel, what are your thoughts on that?
He's got to be, man. Baker's got to be. And I think this is the MVP conversation is always fun. I love these awards, man. I love discussing them. Like, he's got to be in the conversation. This is also a narrative-driven award at times, and Baker's got the narrative. He's got the NFL fans behind him, right? Everybody's throwing clips of him from his Cleveland Brown days. Everybody's throwing clips of him that one game against the Rams, and now he's turned his career around, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a franchise quarterback, have a guy that they can rally behind, a guy that gives them serious hope that they can win a legitimate Super Bowl. That's what the Buccaneers have hope in. So he's got to be in the conversation. I'm not even doubting this. This is a guy who's put up, a top 3 season right now in terms of, total passing yards. This is a guy who's playing his ass off without Bucky Irving, without Mike Evans, without Chris Godwin. He's an MVP candidate. And when you look at the rest of these guys, I mean, who else are you giving it to?
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
You know what the biggest lesson this has taught me? It is going to take a generational. It is going to take an absurd talent at the quarterback position to uplift the Cleveland Browns. That's what this tells me. You're either going to get the most absurd play at the quarterback position, or you need a guy that can just manage the game so well, so effectively, not turn the ball over. You need like the ultimate game manager. Because Baker Mayfield was made to be like a bust with the Cleveland Browns. Like, he didn't work out. And I always knew there was more to Baker Mayfield, because every single time he took on the Cincinnati Bengals, he destroyed us. He looked a completely different quarterback. And there were games where Baker Mayfield truly flashed with the Browns. But like with everything in Cleveland, there's always dysfunction. Then he went to the Carolina Panthers and things looked weird there, right? Didn't really get a true chance to start, right? Had they pretty much had they were going to pull him at the second he messed up. Then he goes to Tampa Bay. Remember what I told you, man? Video that went viral on TikTok. I said, hey, listen, I think Baker Mayfield and Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win their division. I was called crazy. They won the division. And this is the first time Baker Mayfield's had an organization believe in him, build around him, and keep with him. And it happened in such a beautiful place. Tampa has been exactly what Baker Mayfield's career needed. Now he looks like the guy that was worthy of the draft pick in which he was taken with. Baker Mayfield is an MVP candidate this year, man. The other names I guess you would talk about is guys like Josh Allen, of course. All right. Everybody else, I'm not too sure who else you pretty much throw in that mix. But Baker Mayfield is entered the MVP conversations. Good on him. Good on him for, resurging his career, fighting through. And people said he couldn't. He proved. That's why situation matters so much. Where you end up matters so much. And he's had 2 coordinators come through, right? He had Liam Cohen as his offensive coordinator. He's got Josh Gizzard as his offensive coordinator now. He's got these guys being talked about as potential head coaching candidates for the job that they've done with Baker Mayfield. How about the job Baker Mayfield's done for them? Baker's got a big arm. Baker's got the ability to execute on offense. Baker Mayfield, not the most athletic guy, but Baker Mayfield can run for first downs. Listen, I think Baker is going to continue to ascend in his career, continue to do big things. But I do like it, Daniel. I don't think that's too much of a hot take.
No, and the last thing I'll say on this, like, it takes a special player as well to just rally a franchise. Like, you look at, I can't understate this enough. You look at the New York Giants, what's going on there. A lot of this is because of your quarterback. A lot of this is you got to give your fans some hope. And goddamn it, when you watch Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, that dude gives you hope. And that dude, the franchise can look at him from an off the field standpoint and say, hey, when that guy steps onto the field, our fans are going to rally behind him. Our team is going to rally behind him. And that's where I feel like also gives him a leg up because, hey, he is making some plays that's what you need. And it comes from confidence. This is a confident guy. This is a confident player. It dates back to his days at Oklahoma. Like, this dude is a star. He thrives in the underdog role. And the team often takes on, the mentality, obviously the head coach, but of their quarterback as well. And that's what this Buccaneers team is doing. They've always been recently at least, been a solid franchise. Obviously they went out, got Tom Brady, won the Super Bowl. But this is a team, they're rallying behind him. They are 5-1. They are clearly in the conversation for best team in the NFC. And a lot of that comes from this dude that we're talking about, Baker Mayfield. So shout out to him. This is sustainable for him. This is something I think we'll see for the next couple seasons at least. And you've just got to give him his flowers right now where, hey, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's keeping his guys in the game, and they're winning close games because of him. They're not really dominating teams. They are winning these close games. They beat the Seattle Seahawks by a couple points last week. And we obviously saw how this week turned out for them. The Baker Mayfield-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a star team, and Baker Mayfield deserves to be in the MVP conversation. I don't know necessarily if he will win it, but he's got the narrative behind him, and once again, he deserves to be in this conversation. So shout out to Baker. So,
yeah, I agree with you. Hey, I want to move on over from one quarterback that has resurged his career and has been a leader for his team to a quarterback that has been anything but. And this is my chance to rub it in Daniel's face for a second. But before I do, let's roll the clip.
Well, I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys, and then what we're expecting out of the guys, right? We're expecting this. Are we getting that? Are we not getting that? We have guys showing up to player-only meetings late, guys not showing up to player-only meetings. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. Do we have to make this mandatory? Do we not have to make this mandatory? So it's a lot of things of that nature that we got to get cleaned up, and it starts with the little things like that.
To be clear, you're saying some players were late or missed?
Late, yeah.
Thank you.
Tua Tagovailoa clearly is not a leader. Any leader that would come out and say that, first of all, that's not that you keep in house. 1, 2. I find that very hard to accept, knowing you're the quarterback of the team, knowing you're supposed to be the guy that gets everything in order. I also find it weird because I was looking at just a response to that video. And some former teammates came out and said, well, you were late to meetings yourself when I was there. You didn't show up to meetings when you were supposed to. So it feels like this is a classy move of Tua, throwing his teammates under the bus. I listen, and maybe Tua goes on somewhere else and has success, but it feels like Miami is such a dysfunctional place for him. There's a lot going on, a lot of glitz and glamours, a lot of new faces that come in and out of that building, a lot of coaches that didn't want to be a part of it anymore, that have gone on to win Super Bowls. But Tua, you're crazy if you think that this doesn't also fall on your shoulders as the quarterback of this team. And this goes on to what I'm saying. Stop judging quarterbacks just off of the success that they had in college. Judge them by the leader that they are. Not when things are great, but when things are tough. When you're sitting down with these quarterbacks, the combine, talk about the adversity that they face. What was the most difficult moments that you faced? Because that will tell you a lot of how they're able to deal, right? That will tell you how they're willing to deal with struggles in the National Football League, because there are going to be struggles in the National Football League. Every team should be wanting to uncover what makes that quarterback tick before you draft them in the first round. Why? Because chances are, if you're a team drafting a quarterback in the first round, top 10, top 5, you're probably not in the best situation, which means there's going to be some shit on you, which means it's going to stink a little bit, which means you're going to have to find a way to get it out the mud. It was the reason why I had reservations about Trevor Lawrence when he came out of Clemson. Not because he's not talented. He's very talented. But how are you going to deal with life in the NFL when shit breaks? Because it's going to break. Things are going to get tough. Tua had a lot of success at Alabama. Don't believe me? Roll Tide. Trust me. I wanted to see the guy win. I wanted to see the guy succeed. But you could tell a lot by a quarterback by how they respond to adversity. And I don't mean the adversity of, hey, tell me about how you threw 2 interceptions in a national championship game. Hey, tell me how you struggled in that big time game against Tennessee. Hey, tell me how. That's not what I'm talking about. Real adversity. How they brought the team together in moments when the team broke. There's a lot of guys that can sling the pill. But there aren't a lot of guys that can lead. There aren't a lot of guys that can rally the troops. And my thought process of how I judge quarterbacks, it is remained consistent. Whether you played for the University of Alabama or you didn't, or you played somewhere else, how do you lead? How do you lead when things break? Are you a leader? Do you expect others to speak up? Because at some point, let's call it what it is. You're a quarterback. Things ain't looking good. You get drafted. You get drafted in the first round, top 10 pick. You're going to a crappy situation. You're expected to be the savior of the franchise. That's a fact. So, how can you keep that team together in the midst of coaching changes, in the midst of personnel changes, in the midst of losing? Because you could go 0 and whatever your first year. Can you keep it mentally together? Can you keep this team afloat? Can you put this team on your back and say, hey, we can still find a way to win through all the adversity? It's the reason why I told y'all Jackson Dart was going to be a game changer. I saw what he did at Ole Miss. I saw it. I'm not shocked that Jackson Dart is this good. What did I tell you Jackson Dart for me was coming out of the draft?
Favorite quarterback?
My favorite quarterback coming out of this class. My favorite quarterback. Never shied away, never stopped. Oh, Shador, oh, Cam Ward. Nope. Jackson Dart. Culture guy. Guy that guys can believe in. He has a Baker Mayfield-esque to him. Believes in himself. You put that together with Cam Scatterbo. Now you get some lunatics running in New York Giants right now. You got all of a sudden, you know, what do they say? The Giants have the most aura in the National Football League. When you drafting a quarterback, you got to look beyond just the talent. How do you lead? Because leadership is an underrated quality. Leadership is an underrated quality. And I'm sorry, this right here tells you everything about the dysfunction of the Miami Dolphins. I'm not just trying to put it on Tua because Mike McDaniel needs to be out as well. But I always felt Mike McDaniel was a better play caller than he was a head coach. The same feeling I get about Mike McDaniel because I think Mike McDaniel is going to go on somewhere and have a top 5 offense next year. The same feeling I get about Mike McDaniel is the same feeling I get about Cliff Kingsbury. These guys are good play callers. Guys aren't good lead men. Same feeling I get about Tua Tagovailoa is the same feeling I get about a lot of guys. Can you lead when things aren't perfect? Daniel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, this entire situation was botched by the Miami Dolphins and Tua. It's sad. It's sad because this was the hope that this Dolphins organization had. And you have to feel for these fans that put their entire, life into this, right? The people that, hey, before they drafted Tua, it was tank for Tua. Holy crap. We've got this quarterback class that's phenomenal. Let's go get our guy, right? The quarterback class with Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Tua Tagovailoa. And they went out and they drafted Tua. You have some hope. You have some success. And it hasn't panned out. And I hate to say it, listen, because I've been the biggest Tua supporter. Whether it was his injuries in college, whether it was his concussions in the NFL, or whether it was his inept head coach right now, the inept general manager, or his poor play, his NFL career has sadly been a disappointment. It has. And something else that I'm going to speculate, I'm going to put my, faith behind this, and I'm going to speculate again is, hey, I think Tua is beat down. I think Tua has been through a lot. And I think there's been multiple comments. Like you said, Tua, I don't think he's a leader right now. And it may suck to say this, and maybe I'm overstepping my boundaries. I don't think Tua really cares right now.
It is your job, first and foremost, right, to come on here, speculate, give your take, talk about things. Doesn't matter who might like your opinion, who doesn't like your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. What you're saying is not inaccurate. I don't even want to say the right now thing. He has not shown to be a leader. He has not shown that he can lead in difficult moments. He has not shown all those. I appreciate his positivity, his optimism that he had for most of his Miami Dolphins tenure through all the injuries and all the coaching changes and all the BS that he had to deal with. But this feels like Tua has been broken by the Miami Dolphins.
Yes.
That's what this feels like to me. And I think that when you don't have a quarterback with a strong personality, asking him to come in and be a culture shifter for a place like Miami is an impossible task. That's what I think. You have players on this team with way stronger personalities than Tua Tagovailoa, but also you couple that together with a head coach / play caller in Mike McDaniel, who also has a similar personality, very passive. If you've ever had a conversation with Mike McDaniel, I have many times. If you've ever had a conversation with him, then you know that he is very passive. You know that he is very laid back. He is very chill. He's a chill guy. I'm just a chill guy. Hands in the pocket. Very cool. He is that guy. So you have two guys in leadership positions, the two important positions for a team to be successful, the quarterback and the head coach, that need to be working together, who both are not strong personality types. It's easy for players to not respect them. It's easy for players not to show up to meetings. Hey, listen, I'm just saying the quiet part out loud. That's a fact. Mike McDaniel, not an alpha male, not a strong leader. Tua Tagovailoa, not an alpha male, not a strong leader, and that's a fact. That's what's going on right before our very own eyes. That's why he's not having success as a head coach. That's why when things start to struggle, the team breaks apart. That's why Tua is not able to get his teammates, believing in him. That's why he feels like he needs to go out there in the media and do a weak move and throw him under the bus. Everything Tua might be saying might be true to an extent, but that is not what a franchise quarterback and the leader of a football team does. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, it's sad. Like they're at a turning point, and I think that they need to make some changes. Like Griffin McQuaid said, get rid of Tua and sign Mac Jones. Whatever they do, they got to figure something
They
out.
ripped the whole thing up. Yeah, it's not just a get rid of Tua thing. It's to get rid of Mac Jones. Get rid of Tua Tagovailoa. Get rid of Mike McDaniel. Get rid of Chris Greer. Even this thing has broken. But I don't even like the thought process of get rid of Chris Greer, because I think Chris Greer has made moves to make this team a competitive team. He's been ultra aggressive via trades, doing so much. I just don't think Mike McDaniel is the lead man. I don't think he's the right man in charge, and I don't think a new head coach is going to come in and fix Tua at this point. It is what it is. It's broken. It's time to get a new point. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that's why Brian Flores and Tua didn't work out either, because Brian Flores is an alpha male. Brian Flores is a dog. Brian Flores is a guy that's going to get in your face and require more out of you. And Tua is passive. That's not who Tua Tagovailoa is. So therefore, their personalities don't gel. They don't mesh. Brian Flores is coaching. He's a New York guy, came up under Bill Belichick in New England, hard nose, bench you if you have a bad play. Listen, that's who he is. And then you couple that to Miami, where everything's chill. Hey, man, we're just going to chill out. We're going to have a great time. No, you're expected to win in the National Football League. So when you bring a coach in who is an alpha male, who is a dog, who is going to require that greatness and that excellence and try to reach. I'm be real with you. The Dolphins fumbled Brian Flores. I said it when they fired him, was the dumbest decision that they made. It was the dumbest decision they made, all because the owner had a pipe dream of getting Tom Brady. And he didn't like the fact that Brian Flores knew it and called him out on it. And there was so much other stuff that went into it. It was BS. It was BS. And it's not even a race thing. That's just from a pure talent evaluator standpoint thing. That's from just getting the most out of your team thought process. The reason why Brian Flores continuously talked about, and whoever decides to bite that bullet and, not care what the league says, say, we're going to hire Brian Flores, is going to get a hell of a coach. That's what I think. They fumbled the Brian Flores situation, and they're still paying for it. Brian Flores has the opportunity to do something really, really special if he gets a head coaching opportunity. I hope some team gives him that, because I think that's the difference of why Miami hasn't worked out. Why Miami hasn't worked out. Remember, this dude took the Miami Dolphins to the playoffs the year prior, missed the playoffs, and they fired him, all because the owner and him couldn't see eye to eye. That's crazy if you think about it. And now you look at what he's gone on to do, have success. He luckily got another shot in the league to prove, hey, he could be a good play caller, defensive coordinator, the whole 9 yards. And he's done that. I've seen him reset cultures. I saw him do it in Miami. Him and Tua couldn't work together. But guess what? Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa couldn't either. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing right now. That's why we've seen the Miami Dolphins break before our very own eyes. Again, if you guys could do us a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or upload content from the TWSN studios. Daniel, I want to get to your best bets for Monday Night Football. We got 2 games on slate. Give them to me.
Yeah, man, I think this is a very fun slate. I like both of these games a lot. Once again, if you guys want, go to our full best bets on the Patreon. We got a bunch of bets. I'll give 3 of my favorite ones here. Look at the Buffalo Bills versus the Atlanta Falcons. This is a game where we'll see how do the Bills bounce back, right? First loss of the season. I feel like this is somewhat of a predictable-esque game. The Buffalo Bills are a better football team than the Falcons. They are. I think that there's 2 clear ways to play this. If you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win this game, it's clear they are going to run the ball. And when you look at every single one of their wins, they are running the hell out of the ball. When you look at last week against the New England Patriots, James Cook had 15 rushes for 49 yards. What do you know? That was in a loss. The week before, when they beat the Saints, he had 22 rushes for 117 yards. The week before, they beat the Dolphins. He had 108 yards. The week before, they beat the Jets. He had 132 yards. James Cook is a piece that I feel like they didn't utilize a lot last week, and I feel like that was a major problem. The dude had a total of 16 touches, only 1 target. I'm taking James Cook's over in rushing yards against this Falcons defense. I know that they made some moves to go out there and upgrade the defensive line. I like what they've done. They added James Pierce. They added Jalen Walker. Both those guys are under 260 pounds. They went out. They made a great move. I love their safety, Xavier Watts. Xavier is a deep safety. He's not really crashing in the run game a lot. And I think that this is a big opportunity for, from a betting perspective to look at this and say, hey, what is the biggest hole in this team? And I think James Cook, 70+ rushing yards. I think that's kind of dare I say, a walk in the park. I think that's something where they are going to be focused on Josh Allen. Josh Allen's legs are the biggest X factor in this game. But James Cook, 70+ rushing yards, as well as a sprinkle on James Cook to have 100+ rushing yards at +280. I think this is a big James Cook game. I think Joe Brady understands, hey, the way you win games is you establish the run, get your best player going. And I feel like last week they kind of fell into the mantra of, hey, we're trying to prolong James Cook. He's having a great season. We're 4-0. This is all perfect. Peaches and roses. Everything's great. No, you got to still win these games. And the way you do that is you run the damn football. Give me James Cook's over rushing yards. Another one I like in this game is I'm looking at Bijan Robinson. And to be quite honest with you, this dude is a superstar talent. This dude is up there with the Jonathan Taylor, up there with the Saquon Barkleys of the world. Whichever way this game goes, Bijan Robinson is going to see touches. I like his over in receiving yards, 30.5. This kind of covers my ass to where, hey, if he gets a couple dump offs, I don't necessarily know. I like his receptions as well, but I think receiving yards, it's safe. Give me 30+ receiving yards. And especially if the Bills are playing with a lead, I think this is, once again, going to be another walk in the park because Michael Penix Jr., he's got Drake London, he's got Kyle Pitts, but this is his check down. This is the way you get the ball in your best player's hands. Give me Bijan Robinson 30+ receiving yards. And when I look at the other game, the Chicago Bears versus Commanders, this is another fun one. This is one where these 2 teams are up-and-coming teams. These 2 teams have a ton of potential. They've got everything in front of them. You got Caleb Williams. You got Jaden Daniels, obviously. I'm going with Rome Odunze. I think Odunze is the best receiver on the Bears, and that's even above DJ Moore right now. Rome Odunze is really coming to his own. And not only that, he's gotten the trust of his quarterback, Caleb Williams. All offseason long, everybody was saying, hey, these 2 have a great connection. But everybody's like, well, did you see how Odunze played last year? Like, Odunze had 2 receptions, 3 receptions. Him and Caleb aren't on the same page. Well, newsflash, Odunze is balling out this year. He's had 89 yards, 62 yards, 128 yards. I think this is a big-time spot for him in a game where it's prime time. They need it. So I like Odunze to have a touchdown in this game. He scored a touchdown in every single game so far this year. He's their red zone threat. He's 6'3". I'm a big fan of Rome Odunze, and I think him to score a touchdown, I think you're getting that at pretty good odds. And I think, at plus 145 for Caleb's favorite target, I think that's a steal. And if I were to go to one more, I think that this could also be a big DeAndre Swift game. I think Swift has really he's been underrated. Even myself, I thought that at times he's not a great running back. And while he may not be a star running back, he's getting the snaps. He's getting the opportunity. And I think that with DeAndre Swift, once again, in a primetime matchup, I think we're going to see a lot of him. And not only that, I just like his over in I like his over in receptions. He's had 3 receptions in every single game so far this season. He's playing on third downs. Common guys coming in spurts. But if they were to be playing with a negative game script, if the Commanders are playing with a lead, he's going to see the ball a ton. And I think that DeAndre Swift 3+ receptions is a very safe bet in today's game. So those are a couple, Malik, that I really liked for these 2 games.
I will say that the only thing that I've got for right now, obviously the Patreon will be where I have all of my plays at. If you guys want to subscribe to that, our plays will be going live at around noon today on the Patreon. I really do like the receptions. We all know I'm a sucker for receptions to running backs and receptions to tight ends. Listen, Bijan Robinson, I don't know if I love him at 5 receptions. I love him at 4, definitely. But Kyle Pitts over 3.5 receptions is definitely a play that I like. I think if they can exploit one part of the Buffalo Bills defense is going to be from the tight end and the running back spot. I do expect this to be sort of a closer game. We obviously know that Dalton Kincaid's status for this game is up in the air right now, so not exactly sure what that's going to look like. But I wouldn't be shocked to see guys like Josh Palmer get involved, right? His reception is sitting at 1.5. But to be honest with you guys, I'm really uncomfortable picking anybody for that Buffalo Bills offense right now. They spread the ball to a wealth of people. I could definitely see Keon Coleman being a game where he does well. I like him at 3 catches, not really 3.5. It's weird. The way some of these lines are, I like these guys at like just a little bit under that mark, but I won't say go with the under technically. I would just go to the alternate prop lines. And I would say, hey, take Keon Coleman at 3 receptions, take Josh Palmer at 2 catches. I like that. His line is at 1.5. And I like Bijan Robinson at 4 catches, and I like Kyle Pitts at 4 catches as well. So those are some of my favorite plays for the game. I also like Bijan Robinson and James Cook to both score in this game. Those are plays that I really, really like. And I think if you want to bet, James Cook to get a score is -155, Bijan Robinson -190. So hell, maybe even like James Cook to score 2 touchdowns. That these are plays that I think I really, really do like. And I think you're going to be able to move the football on this Atlanta Falcons defense to a degree if you're the Buffalo Bills. But don't be shocked too if Josh Allen gets his legs really, really involved in this game, because again, with Dalton Kincaid out, they don't have Dawson Knox props up right now. We'll see. We'll see how this all thing shapes up. But listen, we appreciate you guys for making this show a part of your regular morning routine. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you guys never miss when we go live or upload content. Also, you guys spoke, we listened. We officially have merch. Some of the merch I'm wearing right now, the Sit Down with Malik Wright shirt. We've got State of the Jungle stuff, which is what Daniel is wearing as well. If you guys would like to get any merch, you guys can go to the description, or you can check the QR code right above me as well. So again, we hope that you guys like some of the merch on there. We got some really, really cool stuff, awesome stuff coming out as well. But again, we're live every single Monday, Thursday, and Friday at 10:30 a.m. for the Sit Down Morning Show. And we'll be live Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for State of the Jungle with Malik Wright, presented by TWSN. Remember, there's only one way you guys should be waking up, talking sports, having the conversation, having the debate, and that is the right way. We'll see you guys Wednesday night for State of the Jungle.